Teachers Have a Life series, we started this series. And after the first one on sketchnoting and the second one on self-awareness through storytelling, today we thought we'll do something, again, something real fun, and also a lot of learning, because it's going to have a lot of impact on not just us, but as well as children and our students. So that is why this topic. So, but before we really go on to the topic, I would like you to see what is being shared on the screen. And I would request Neha to share it. So Neha will share something on the screen, which will show you, this is very clearly a graph, right? So what I would want you to do is observe this graph very carefully, okay? And try to make a little sense of it. I'm sure we all know how to interpret a graph. So just look at it a little keenly and try and interpret what this graph would mean, or what does it really depict. You could either unmute and speak, or you could write on the chat. Anybody? Can you make anything out of this graph? If yes, what is it?
What's wrong with this graph?
Yeah, okay. Directly, what's wrong with this graph? Okay. Or is it incomplete? Oh, birth rate. Tanuja, can you just unmute and say, what do you mean by birth rate? Can you just elaborate a little bit on what are your thoughts?
I think Tanuja is not able to talk. Okay, she did unmute. Yes, Tanuja.
Birth rate, according to me, ma'am, the number of birth taking, something what I am getting from the graph.
Okay. Because you saw the word mortality, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mortality hazard. So, that kind of suddenly rang a bell about birth rate for you. Okay. Anybody else? I know it's a little intriguing. Yes, that was the whole idea. But I'm sure some thoughts will certainly strike in your mind, right? So if you could just share what comes to your mind when you see this. Thank you, Tanuja, for your guess. I think we'll take one more input and then I'll ask you the next question.
Yeah, any guess of what should be there on the x-axis? No guess?
Let's make some wise guesses.
Birth rate.
Okay, birth rate. Okay. So you mean to say mortality hazard reduces with birth rate increasing. Okay, so you mean to say x-axis could be birth rate. Okay. Okay. Anything else which could have an impact or an effect on mortality hazard?
Age.
Age. Okay. As you mean to say, as age increases, mortality hazard decreases?
No, sorry. Okay, no, I meant, okay, I have totally read this wrong.
Good exercise for our gray cells, right? Okay, so I've given you a direct hint. What is something that could have an effect on mortality hazard? So here you see the mortality hazard is reducing, okay? So what is something that could have an effect for it to reduce?
Okay, now Jayashree, the silence, come on.
I think we should just reveal it.
Exercise.
Yes, something, yeah?
Exercise, healthy eating habits.
Wonderful, yeah. Exercise, healthy eating habits, wonderful, yeah. Thank you so much for that. Who said that? No,
Father Jude. Father Jude.
Thank you, Father. Yeah. So you're quite close, Father. It's a great guess that you've done. So I think Neha will reveal what it is.
Yes.
So can you see it there?
So that's portions of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. So as you increase the number of portions of fruits and vegetables, the mortality hazard also reduces at this rate. That is what this graph shows. And this graph, who's done this research, and maybe Neha will tell us who's come up with this graph and what article is it. Neha, you want to say?
Yeah, so that's, I forgot the article's name,
Okay.
but I'll just share it by the end of the session. I'll just look for it. But that's by Dr. Bhavin Jankaria, which has a research been done, but I'll just share the link to the article as well by the end of it. Sorry, I missed keeping that with me right now. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So, so today, as you all know, we're going to be talking something about health, right? So that is what is the caption or the title for this session. It is fun with food and nutrition. And, healthy can always be tasty as well. So we are going to be talking about that. And we have none other than our Neha, who is going to be talking to us about this. And for most of us who know Neha, we know she's such a health freak. She is so passionate about healthy cooking and healthy eating. So nobody better than Neha for us to have on this platform to talk to us about this topic. Yeah. So as we all know, and many of course, Neha needs no introduction, and we are all very familiar with Neha. Those of us who know Adhyayan and who've been with Adhyayan on several different occasions, we know Neha very well. However, I would want to take this opportunity to kind of, talk about her achievements and all that she's been doing in the field of education. Neha is, as you all know, director at Adhyayan Quality Education Services. And currently she's taken on a new role. She is the head of junior school at Bombay International School in Mumbai. She has also been the principal and director at Shishwan School, Mumbai. And with Adhyayan, she has worked across the length and breadth of India and across all examination boards. She has trained over 55 school review teams. Neha has designed and delivered leadership training programs for over 200 leaders and over 1,000 teachers through Adhyayan School Improvement Support and Training Program. Over 500 teachers and teaching leaders have undertaken the professional growth self-review using the professional growth program framework. She has curated the parenting studio, offering parenting courses for parents of toddlers, equipping them in the whole child approach. So I can go on and on about Neha. The amount of work she's done in this field of education with Adhyayan, I think is quite commendable. But today we have her talking to us about one of her passions, health and cooking, and healthy cooking particularly is very, very close to her heart. And so over to you, Neha. And I would like to start asking you this one question. What was it that triggered you into this? How did you get inclined towards health and healthy cooking? If you could tell us about that journey before you move on to other things. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Jayashri. And this is very much home, right, for all of us. So that introduction really seemed very long. I think since we are really a small number, it'll be nice for all of us to also interact. You would want to unmute at any point in time and ask a question or share something. That'll be great. Yeah. So let's keep it as interactive as possible. Jayashri and I have decided that we'll do this as a question answer thing. So it'll be nice if everybody asks questions so that it's easier. It's more led by that because this is I'm not an expert or anything on this topic. It's just something that has very organically, I have kind of imbibed and have done this. So the first question that Jayashri has right now is that she asked me about what was the trigger? How did I get into all of this? So this takes me back to about more than 22 years ago. So when my kids were really small, so that's about 2.5, 3 years old. My elder one was that much. And, at that time, you're a young mother trying to find out a lot about child development, going for, classes and whatever talks and all of that go on to just understand more about parenting. So I came across this one a session where I had gone, where there was a health expert, Dr. Vijaya Venkat, who had come in, and she was very passionately talking about, food and health, and because we were all young mothers that she was addressing, she stood on that, kind of stage and said that next time you think of giving your child medicine, call me before you give a child your medicine. And so, when they have fever and things like that. So I actually did that when my daughter had a temperature, because they obviously have temperature every few months. You'll have some bout of that happening. I really called her. And when I called her, she said that, listen, first she said that you guys have no understanding. Y'all give your children so many medicines. And, we used to give that syrup, crocin syrup. And she said, do nothing. Just don't do anything. Just be next to the child and let 2 or 3 days pass by. Just do some home remedies like putting in ginger and giving a little lemon nimbu pani, but without any sugar and salt. So that kind of stuff happened. And actually, I didn't give any medicine, which I usually used to give, right? Always gave her crocin syrup. And she was fine in the next 2-3 days. And I thought that was really something that was so simple. I didn't have to do anything, and she was fine. And so that actually triggered a whole thought process in me, saying that I need to find out a little more about this. And hence I actually visited her, and they have a structured, program. They guide you in terms of saying that, okay, learn a little more about things, so how does your body work? What are the good things that you feed your body and things like that. That's how I kind of did an 8-week course, which was once a week, to understand. I had no understanding, frankly, Jayashri. If I may just add that I had the worst habits that anybody could think of. I have no shame in saying that I used to drink aerated drinks the first thing in the morning. I hated milk. So that was the first thing that I used to drink for breakfast. I mean, there was no breakfast. I used to drink that. Okay. So for 15 years of my life, I've probably done that, 15 to 20 years when I was in college. And it was very cool, right, to have aerated drinks and all. So I had no concept of health in that sense. Of course, I used to eat home cooked meals and things like that. But yeah. So I come from that space where I really didn't understand. If aerated drinks were launched, I assume, I mean, there was no conversation that happened around it like it happens now, that what is not good, what is good. It was all supposed to be fine. Like, so I never knew that I didn't have to have that. So, yes.
Wow.
So this is how it kind of triggered. And going ahead, there was one more thing that happened, was that very soon, once I just kind of did these 8-week courses, just to understand a little better about these things, I started also using them on myself. And then my father-in-law had a mild attack. So that again was another trigger. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I get that. However, but I'm just wondering how you could kind of convince your children, because I'm sure they were small. So if you had gotten into health and, wanted to cultivate this kind of healthy habits, so how did that happen with kids? Because most of us mothers know that it's very hard with kids. Kids are very picky and choosy when it comes to eating, right? So you can say it's healthy, but that's not going to go down with them. So how did you manage that with your kids?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, basically we are vegetarians, okay? And milk has been a big part of our thing, because buttermilk, and in the house that I got married, they used to have a big glass of milk and things like that. So and maybe I should first kind of make it clear in terms of what do we mean, what is the switch that I made actually. So I first tried out under guidance of Dr. Vijaya Venkat, who's no more, but the Health Awareness Center continues to be there. I tried out a few things on her guidance in terms of having more fruits, vegetables, nuts and sprouts, okay, in a kind of balanced manner. And when I started doing that, because I had very erratic eating habits, and while I used to love fruits, but there was no, I could eat one of here, one of there, lunch, dinner, whatever was there, and would snack in between, I mean, typically. So once I started doing this, I found a lot of regularity in a whole lot of things. You know, your kind of bowel movement started getting better, your energy levels started feeling better. So I did that under her guidance for a couple of weeks, and that really felt good. And around the same time, what happened was that, as I was telling you, that my father-in-law had a mild attack, you know, and he had to go through an angioplasty and all of that. And from what I understood was that his cholesterol obviously was high, and that's how all this happened, which meant that we had to look into the lifestyle. We had to look into our lifestyle, look into what he's eating, and make sure that all your fatty things, fried, sugar, all of that was kind of reduced. So both these things were happening parallelly. And at that time, then I started, as I was learning also how to cook in a particular manner, I started implementing that. So what I started doing was starting making those minor adjustments in the kitchen, and which means no oil to be used, milk products to the minimal. So when you say no oil, no ghee, no fat, okay, all of that, and introduced more of sprouts, nuts, and of course had fruits, also emphasis on fruits basically. So the cooking was obviously done in a little different manner. So that was one part of the thing where I just wanted to bring in a context for everyone to just understand what is the shift that we are talking about from my what I did. And in terms of the kids, my older one was till about 3 years of age. I fed her everything, you know. I thought, like, I gave her the cheese slices and milk and all of that, because that's what I thought was like to be given and healthy and all of that. With my second one, I got kind of wiser. So I didn't really feed him with all of that, but I gave him with fruit juice and things like that the first thing in the morning, and he took to it. There was no problem. Even my daughter made that switch very nicely. She also had she loved milk too. It wasn't that she didn't like milk, but she was fine with having a fruit also. So, you know, I think it's slowly, because the environment in the house also changed, right? If you have fruit on the table, then everybody is also wanting to have. I didn't really say, okay, now you have to have fruit. Come on, you can't have milk. There was nothing like that done. You had the options kept there, you pick it up. And so since, you know, I started eating more of fruit, children also started having that. And with the younger one, I had, because he was only just 1 year old when I made this transition, it was easier. So all the crushed stuff and all what you gave him, I really gave him vegetables and rice, and I didn't give him a whole lot of other things which I gave my elder one. So he's more intuitive and, you know, in line with what his body needs. So I have to admit that my daughter took a lot of time, but there was no force.
Okay.
At no point did I say you need to eat this and you can't eat this, because you know how it works with the kids. The moment you say no, they want more of it. Yeah.
So Neha, at this point, you know, what comes to my mind is, you know, I mean, you said that you changed your way of cooking, in the sense, you know, the ingredients, no oil, you went into sprouts, more of vegetables and all of that. So I'm just wondering, did the new style of cooking really affect the taste, you know? And how did you manage your children, and also, of course, your other people, other members at home, the adults at home, like your in-laws, you know, start to like this kind of cooking? How did you manage that?
Yeah, so two things here. I think, Jashu, you're asking me. One is about the taste part, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so what did I do, and what was the change in taste and all of that? And the other is, how did everybody else kind of adapt to it?
To this new kind of cooking.
Yeah, to the new kind of cooking. So one thing, okay, what I'm going to do is, let me just share my screen for what I have, and let's look at it together. Sorry. Yeah. If you look at, just one second. If you look at the tongue, okay, this is, we all know this, right? That the tongue is able to understand bitter, sour, sweet, and salty taste, right? And this is how the map of the tongue is. So what we need to do and understand is that whatever we're eating is, forget about filling your stomach, is actually to satiate your tongue, right? Your 2.5-inch long tongue, because the tongue is the culprit, tongue is the criminal. You like the taste, you have it. You don't like the taste, finished, right? However healthy it is, or however bad it is, it's all of that. So it depends upon the taste. Now that is the bit to attack first, if you want to do this. So if you look at this, maybe what we can do is, right now, what is sweet? Can somebody tell us what gives you sweet taste?
Sugar.
Yeah. And that's something that we usually would use, right? So let's look at what are the other things that you can use instead of sugar. So I'll invite everybody to either unmute and talk, or put it on the chat. Let's look at
Jaggery.
Jaggery. Yes.
Neha, honey.
Honey.
Chocolate.
Pardon?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Chocolate by itself is bitter. It's not
Yeah.
sweet. Only if you take the ready-made chocolate, like a milk chocolate, then you'll have that. But I'm talking about ingredients in the kitchen that you would use. So
But we
yes,
say
honey,
dates.
jaggery, dates. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So is sugar good or bad?
Processed one is not good.
Right? Yeah. So that's what something we know, that we had to avoid that, right? So I had to avoid sugar, and to avoid sugar, one had to look at substitutes. So the substitute to sugar was jaggery, honey, dates, or fruit pulp, because fruit pulp is also sweet. But I don't use fruit pulp in a cooking thing. But so this is the first thing that I made a shift in, is I looked at how the sweet part of it can be substituted with something that's better than sugar. Okay, so I think that's the first bit. Now let's look at sour. What is sour? What are the things, what are the ingredients that can give you the taste, sour taste?
Ma'am, vinegar.
Vinegar,
Tamarind.
tamarind,
Lemon.
lemon. What else? Yes, tamarind, lime. Yes, Priya, that's true. Anything else?
Mango powder.
Mango powder. Fantastic, Tanuja. Yes, absolutely.
Tomatoes.
Yes, tomatoes.
Clarion.
So basically we need to get these taste in our cooking, right? So you need to be able to put the right combinations of sweet, salty, sour, and wherever bitter is required. So pungent. Okay. So here you've seen the sweet thing. My sour options were tamarind, green mango, kacha keri, lemon, dry mango powder, amla, kokum. Okay, so you can use a variety of these again in your food. Yeah, so sweet options done, sour options done. What else? Pungent options. What gives you pungent taste? I'm going to give out this one. Yeah, somebody did unmute. Yeah,
Chili.
pungent. Yes, chili, ginger, garlic, mustard. Okay. So if we recognize that these are the options that you can add, keep these. These are things that I really have in the back of my mind. Yeah. This is always there to say, okay, what are my options? And then you make your permutations, combinations. And then of course, salty option, which we all know is salt. But which salt do you use, right? So I'm using senda namak, or you use black salt also. And somewhere you can also use celery, because celery as a vegetable is little salty. So in some combinations, you would also use that. Yeah. So this is, Jayashree, the first shift that I made when you said that, how did you adapt to the taste? I kept the taste largely the same. Okay, and I looked at it in a very slow manner. So while I substituted sugar with largely jaggery and dates, okay, so in the fruit juices, I didn't put sugar. Fruit was not sprinkled with sugar, but you had dates kept, where if you're eating fruits and you find that you still want the sugar craving, you have the dates alongside. Don't put sugar on it, right? In the juices also, what we did was I would have date paste ready. So you put that in. In the cooking, you put jaggery instead of sugar. Okay. So these were the quick things that I could shift in the kitchen. Now the secret here is you don't tell anybody what you're doing.
Wow.
Okay. So because I'm the queen of the kitchen is what I can say. I didn't have to tell anybody what I'm doing. But these are the small changes. But make sure you don't change the taste drastically. Otherwise, it's a big problem. Yeah. Yes, Priya, you can have a laugh. But that's it. So you don't tell people, because if you tell them that, listen, I'm going to make a healthy smoothie for you, there you go. Nobody wants to have it, because health is equal to not bad taste, or, especially people who are resistant to it, who love it who want to do it will say, obviously welcome it. So that's what it is. Yeah. Then the second thing is about oil. And this thing, I would not use oil at all. Okay, because when you give a tadka, the taste of oil, of course, is there when you give a tel wala tadka. But actually, what brings flavor to your food is the spices. So when you give a tadka, you need to basically just heat the vessel and add your spices. So whatever you're giving a tadka of, roast that and add that to your vegetable. When you do that, you don't really need any oil for it, and you will see that the taste is unchanged. So for example, when we make idli and dosa, which is the sambar and the chutney. So in the chutney, there's a proper oil ka tadka, right? That we put with urad dal. I started small. So I started with that. I didn't put oil, and I still had that. I roasted the seeds and I gave the tadka just like that, but without oil, and nobody complained. You don't have to tell them. The moment you tell I haven't put oil, then there's a problem. But I didn't tell them, and it was served, and no one said anything, and everybody ate it. So for me, I think that was good enough that people didn't say anything. So you just kind of do it. So that, I think that's what I did. And
tricks of the trade, I think. Don't tell.
Yeah, don't tell that you're going to dish out.
I never use the word healthy. Yeah,
at least that's what I did. And a little about also the methods of cooking, Jayashree, what I did, and I have some slides about it. Yeah. We all know that there are different methods of cooking, right? One is solar cooking, steaming, then the stir frying, boiling, baking, deep frying, and of course, shallow frying. And from what I had understood and gathered is that, of course, solar cooking is best, but who has the time? You and me. I mean, that's not just possible to do anything like that. And of course, raw eating is the best, but that's not something that goes down everyone's palate. So steaming was the best option. And when you steam vegetables, you retain the color. And if you steam at, max is 100 degrees, you retain even the nutrients. Okay, so you don't kill the nutrients. I have a chart, which is again courtesy of the Health Awareness Center, here. which says that, of course, raw is the best, solar cooking is also very good. Steaming, nutrients are destroyed at 118 degrees centigrade, but by steaming at 100 degree, we cook yet retain nutrient values, okay? And of course, anything after that, because in stir frying, you will use oil, but that's also still okay because the vegetables are on fire for a shorter time. Boiling almost destroys everything. While we say, you know, when you're dieting, wanting to lose weight, you actually have boiled veggies. So boiled veggies is not bad in the sense it's better than having oiled and fried and all of that. Of course, it's better. But in terms of nutrient value, it won't have anything. It will still serve your purpose of losing weight. So that's going to happen. But if you steam it, then you like looking at the veggies as well, because they really retain the color. So I started steaming instead of boiling or pressure cooking all the vegetables. I steam it, then add the tadka, add the masala, and there it is. Some things I still boil. Okay, so it's not, that's why you need a balance. You can't like just say that I'm only going to switch to this and I'm going to just do this. So yeah, I think this is my part of of what I did and how I did that. Yeah,
I'm also looking at, you know, when you bake with or without oil, it doesn't matter, but baking, actually all your nutrient values are lost, right? Yeah, so great. So I thought there was one question from Supriya on the chat. She asks, if you have to use oil, then which oil is best? What can you substitute it with, if at all you're going to, or something like that? Supriya,
yeah, she's saying that what all oils do you keep in your kitchen or often use? What must be replaced in the kitchen? Okay. What do you think, Supriya? In terms of spice, yeah.
I've been hearing a lot about olive oil, but I'm not sure. I'm still not very good with the usage. So if, I mean, any tips from you that you can give?
Yeah, so olive oil definitely is lighter, but frankly, I keep both. I even have a normal postman oil as well, because it's not as if we don't fry things, right? Like we make wafers. Of course, frying is very little in the house, but if you make puris, you can't fry in water, right? Like there's a joke in my house that mom's giving puris, see, they must be fried in water. So, so basically I do have that oil, and I'm not very sure about olive oil for frying. So for stir fry and all, if at all you want to use oil or drizzle it sometimes on something, then I think olive oil is kind of better. But I'm no expert on the oils, frankly, because there are lots of oils available. And you have rice bran oil and sunflower oil. I think just use whatever you think is good, but you have to use it minimal. That's the whole idea. So whichever oil you use, make sure that you're not using oil on a daily basis.
And all oils they claim is cholesterol free. So,
No.
So anyway, yeah. I think Parveen asks, what is your take on air fryer, the equipment itself? So
yeah. So Parveen, I used to use the tandoor also, because tandoor was ideal for roasting stuff also without oil, and also to make sometimes even the pizzas and all were faster, or even the rosti or anything you want to do which is oil free, the tandoor works fine. And similarly the air fryer also. So I do make potato chips, then they are in the air fryer, and they really taste fine. I mean, my kids love it. And my nephews who are now younger, of course, my kids are older now because they're all 22, 25, and they make a choice, but they all like it. Even all my nephews who are 6 and 8 and 10, and all of them love it. So I think air fryer works fine. At least it's better than frying if you have to do it regularly. Yeah.
Any questions you want to ask Neha? Anybody? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, Supriya. Supriya is asking for munchies. Yeah, munchies, air fryer, and all of those are good because you can make. But I'll tell you that it's not, it depends on what you think are munchies. actually, because for us all manchis are farsan, which is fried, right? And that's the problem. So the moment you introduce dips with so basically when you say dips, they are plant-based dips or a hummus or whatever. If you introduce all of those either with veggies and then with otherwise baked breadsticks or just bread or a
Or even
lavash
roasted
or
vegetables.
anything, or
I remember
roasted,
you saying roasted vegetables.
yes, roasted or even steamed vegetables.
Steamed
So if you
vegetables.
take your baby corn, broccoli and all of those, just steam them. They look so nice, the colors retained, and you serve it with dips, and you will find that your children have it. Occasionally give them the fried stuff as well. I mean, if it's for children. If it's for you, don't even take the fried one.
Yeah. Any other tips you want to ask from Neha? You could-
Yeah, I think maybe somebody wants to ask something before I kind of say anything. Yeah.
Neha, any healthy option to replace tea, normal chai that
Green
most
tea.
of us are addicted to?
I know. Yeah. I think sugar, do you have sugar? See, one thing in milk, in tea, what is to avoid is sugar and milk, right? That's the first
बचा
thing.
क्या?
हाँ, तो फिर वही पीना है ना आपको, या shift to green tea with jaggery or honey.
In fact, Barveen, I have totally switched to black tea, very light black tea with a little ginger.
Okay.
And whenever I have a little sweet craving, I put a little jaggery powder.
Okay.
Otherwise, I just have it, very light tea with ginger. No milk, no sugar. It's so good.
I think for me, it was easy because I never had tea, so I understand that it's difficult, but because I never liked tea, so I didn't have to worry about it. But yeah. And sometimes I also feel, Parveen, it's fine as long as you're able to do many other things, then you can continue with what you really like. And yeah.
Little cheating is okay.
Yeah.
The body doesn't.
So Supriya has also shared try infusions to replace tea. Yes, hibiscus tea. I mean, a lot is now available.
Available.
So,
yeah.
So I grow lemongrass in my kitchen garden. Not that I can boast of a kitchen garden, but I have just 2-3 pots, and I make that green tea once in a while, especially when the weather is good. Yeah, because that's the only thing I like.
So how do you plan it, Neha? Isn't it time consuming to plan this kind of meal for the day, for the week, maybe, I don't know, or for everybody's? I also heard you say that, it kind of suits everybody's palate. So how do you really think of this and plan your meal for the family?
So, I think another thing, when I said that, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing in the kitchen, and I really started small. Okay, so the key is to start small, don't make drastic changes, and make small changes and test it at every time, at every point in time. So I once dared, when I had some guests, I mean, they were like my sister-in-law and her husband, and, and big foodies, okay, that they are. I tried making dum aloo with no oil. And there was no complaint. Otherwise, he always will pick on my food to just say, generally, to say that this is something is more or less or nothing. And he said, oh, this is really nice and very tasty. And it was done. So I think, frankly, for me, first thing, I mean, what we all need to do is, when you're making any switch, don't announce it. Don't do all of that. Make small switches. Make it in a way that you don't change the taste, and do it. Okay, like that. Don't change it completely overnight, even in terms of your the way the family food routine is. Yeah. So for me, maybe it was easy because I was not a breakfast person. As you know, I was drinking aerated drinks. Okay, by the way, I must just tell you that I stopped, okay, before marriage. Like, I stopped the aerated drinks, but so then, but I was drinking that. So for me, it was easy to have fruits in the morning, a salad and vegetable juices and all in the afternoon. Again, have fruit in the evening, and have a proper dinner, like a cooked meal in the evening. And even the salads would be wholesome and all of that. In terms of planning, yes, what you had to take care, because okay, when we started doing this, then of course over time everybody in the house also got to understand that I'm obviously substituting some stuff, because sometimes it really did go bad, right? Like it didn't taste nice, and then I said, okay, I'm not going to try it. But I never gave up. I again tried it in smaller quantities to see when I can get the perfect taste and all of that. So it did. I mean, by then everybody got to know and understood that, okay, what's happening. What was important was that one had to make sure that the right nutrients are getting in, right? So okay, another thing I forgot to tell you was that when my father-in-law had the attack and we were suggested a change of lifestyle or whatever, when we adopted this, okay, where I didn't use oil and this method of cooking, within 3 months, all his levels dropped. In the sense, the cholesterol level and all that was high, of course, partly because of the angiography and whatever else that was credited to the food. So when we went to the cardiologist, he said one thing: whatever you're doing right now is working for you, you're eating, exercise, all of that, just continue. So that was a big validation for me, that okay, which means that this is fine. So usi ke baad maine bataya ghar pe that listen, I've made these few changes, and they said yeah, very good, and we should continue. So that is what happened. But at the same time, a lot in the family, people started saying, but if you're not having oil, then from where will you get the strength? You're not having ghee, where will you get all your fat? Fat is essential. Protein is essential. So all of those start coming in, and then you're also worried, right? Because what if you switch somewhere and you swing somewhere? And that's when the planning part came into the whole thing, is to plan your week in such a way that you are making sure that you have a balanced diet. So you're making sure that you have sprouts, you have nuts, you have vegetables, and all of those. And yes, when we are all working, like, I think that it's nothing unusual. I think all of us here are working people. Is Father Jude still there? I'm not sure. I mean, others are going to say all the females here. So I think all of us are juggling with this as well, with the kitchen stuff. Of course, we may be privileged to have some cooks and support, but still the planning, and unless your husband's really contributing or the people in the house are, for me, it was, I had to plan the week. And when we are working and you want to do this, it just meant like planning your timetable. Okay. It's just like the school timetable helped me to plan my timing and timetable at home. And that was very, so I would plan on a Saturday and make sure that, what is going to be made for lunch, what is going to be made for dinner, all of that. And then I would make sure that all the veggies and everything is in the house. Okay, everything is there so that you don't have to run out for anything. And yeah, then you kind of let it happen. But that there was flexibility also, because sometimes there are some days when you don't want to eat something or you don't want to cook, then you had to figure out. Jayshree, should I share? I had made one slide for this as well.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
I have seen your planning, your weekly calendar for your meetings. So from there, I know how organized you would be in this planning also. So
I know you're pulling my leg, but that's okay.
no, but I'm impressed with your planning, Neha.
So it was like, okay, what does my week look like? Okay, first thing, we have some weeks which are really, really hectic. Some days, like I have a yoga class on some days. So I know that after coming home, I still want to do the yoga class. Then what should I do? When the kids were very young, there were other things that were there, right? Like taking the kids to the class and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot of things. The first thing is what does your week look like? Then plan the menu for the week. So plan it in a way that you're not making the most, what do you say, the tedious meal on a day when you actually are going to be tired, or you have something happening in the evening. So obviously plan it to be really a quick and a fast one. Make sure it's a balanced plan. So you look at that, if make sure that your dals and proteins and sprouts and all of those are in, your vegetables are in. When you're looking at vegetables, and they're not just one kind, you also look at the root vegetable, you look at color, you look at red and green and all of those coming in the week. You look at taste, what does the family like? So whether it's a more rice eating, wheat eating, whatever, accordingly you kind of plan that. And then of course you write it. And when I say write it, is you should see my fridge. My fridge has all the sheets attached on it, because my menu is there and all my stuff is written. So I write it and I keep it. One is on my sheet here and one is there as well. So I think once I write it, I am not stressed about aaj kya banana hai, what do I make today? There is no stress on, then there is no stress. Once it's all there, you've planned it, the veggies are there, I think you're more sorted.
So do you do this every week? Week
Yeah.
after week after week, you plan your menu for that week?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. I do that. And by then it becomes a part of your DNA. Like, you know it. You may not even need to put it down after a while. Like after a couple of years, you don't even need to put it down, because then it's like you have it all. So, yeah, I think.
Any questions from anybody? It'd be nice to get others also to ask you.
Yeah, maybe everybody could share in terms of what do they do and what do you do to plan your week, or to make sure that you're also ensuring that taste and variety is there. I think for me, in my house, variety was something that people wanted. So how do you ensure, or is this a usual thing about what to make is a problem every day?
Yeah, what to cook is always a big thing looming large on your heads, right? For me, it happens very often.
Yeah. Somebody like to say something? Harleen, Tanuja, Sabah, you've also been reacting. You want to unmute and say something? So for me, this has, yeah, go ahead, Sabah, you want to say, or?
Can you just share some tips for munching in between, like during snack time or in between you feel like munching something? So just share some of the tips if you can.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're averse to to taking a carrot and munching it.
Yeah, I do that, but then not
So,
always. We can't do
yeah,
that always,
you won't
right?
do it always, but yeah, so carrots and even fruits. So if you're hungry enough, first thing is look for a fruit.
Okay.
When you're hungry, don't look for, don't go in to eat something else. Because, I'll tell you, when in school, when there are birthdays and all, the cake and the samosas and all come in.
Yeah.
And, you've had your class, or as a principal, I would have gone on a round and then come back. The first thing when you see that samosa, oh my God, you just want to eat it, right? Like, and do it. And so, of course, after a point, I said, no samosas to come near me at all. Like, they should not be given. And, but the first thing to do is to eat a fruit every time that you're hungry. Then automatically the craving for this, the savory and the fried kind of goes down.
Yeah.
So
another thing that I've started doing for the last couple of years is I always have, one of these legumes boiled, maybe a black chana boiled, or, chana itself boiled, or anything, something like this. Always there's something boiled inside the fridge, and I make a chart out of it. So you take a handful of that, chop some tomatoes, onions, squeeze some lime, put some chaat powder, chaat masala. So that really satiates my palate. Evening, if it's an evening, or some sprouts I always keep, steamed sprouts.
Yeah, so steamed sprouts is a very good
I do that.
filler in between. Just take that and eat it.
So the
Even
idea
when
is
you
to keep it ready in the fridge. Otherwise, then you tend to go in for something else. So always ensure that there is something like this in the fridge.
Yeah, and even Jayashree, I do soak peanuts in the morning and keep. Soaked peanuts also taste very good.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if you don't boil it, you just soak it and you have it.
Yeah.
Or even if you want to boil it, like, or steam it and then have that, keep it in the fridge. But as Jayashree says, have an option in the fridge. I also make hummus and keep it, or some dip like that, and you keep it in the fridge so that it's faster. Main is keep some things, keep options. But because you cannot, when you're hungry, you will not go and choose the healthy option. You will choose what is in front of you and what is easy to eat and easy to get. And that's always the packet, that is easy. Will end up eating the fried.
So true. Yeah.
Yes, Shruti, I agree. The power of planning ahead absolutely helps. Yeah?
Right.
And then I would balance it with making a pasta also in the week, and making the dal chawal, and so you have to kind of balance it out, right? Like what the kids will need, what you want to eat, everything. And then of course, as you get smarter, you'll be able to substitute your cheese and the pasta and everything with healthier options. So and trust me, I have validation of my kids, where the children in school would ask for Hriday and Shagun's mother's pasta, because they found that really tasty, because she put so much of cheese when I didn't put any cheese. So I think the validation has come very well without announcing what you put in the thing. So.
So just for the for others, to tell you, Neha has some very, very easy and healthy recipes. So I've been fortunate enough to steal some recipes from her, and I've done it for guests at home, for my own family members, and it's been a great hit. So if you are interested, maybe we could have another session where Neha could share some of her easy recipes, substituting healthy options. So we would like to know how many of you are interested, so that we can kind of plan another session on recipes, healthy recipes. So that
the fun would be to actually cook together in a COP.
Yeah,
I think, but poor thing, right now I know that teachers were actually traveling. So
we could do
it would be
absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, it would be fun to go into your kitchen, look at what's there, and we could make something out of that. Because frankly, I'm sure all of us here are very adept at being able to churn out anything from what's available. So it's only about thinking of options. Think of your salty, sour, all of that,
Yeah.
Arvind, you will also, don't worry.
So one crucial question that comes to my mind, Neha, right now is, I heard you saying that healthy eating is a lifestyle. You have to change your lifestyle, and it becomes a lifestyle, right? So how, if obviously, and you also said you got your kids right from the beginning into it. And so I also heard you say that your son is really aware of his body and what his body is telling him. So if we have to do that with our students, obviously it's going to be very, very helpful, right? It's going to be very beneficial for them to understand their bodies and to kind of get into this kind of a lifestyle and understand its benefits. So through the lens of a school leader, if you were to kind of get your students to know this, how would you do this? So how do we get this in our schools is my question. How can we do this? Getting children right from an early age to understand the benefits of healthy eating, and trying to understand their own bodies, because children are very, very finicky and picky eaters, right? So the minute you say healthy, they say it's all right. We don't want
True that. I think
that's
absolutely true. Yeah, I don't think we can promote anything as healthy to the kids. Of course, we do a lot of, we have, right, in the primary we have the whole balanced diet, and where I think we talk to the children about health, junk food and good food, and we introduce all of that. The children are aware. So I think we do all of that. But I think what's useful to do is, which I think from my point of view was that I never had any understanding of this, like, in my schooling time also, and either, I mean, nobody really spoke about this, was to do some experiments with food. Like, you have that whole tooth getting decayed in Coke,
Right.
and all of that, but not to term it as, I don't know, I think sometimes this whole thing of making it black and white is a problem, right? Like, so it's life is about balance. So anything in moderation is fine. Anything is, it's not that you just cannot touch anything that's oily, of course, until you have an ailment. But if you want to be healthy, and food is not the only thing as well, right? Along with food is your exercise, your sunning, you get the sun, adequate sun in the day, and of course your own thoughts. So if we could promote wellness and health in totality, while we do that, I'm wondering whether we can have more projects and experiences around it more than anything. So not to make it completely black and white, but to be able to make some aware choices. So maybe the children should go around in the neighborhood, finding out what people eat, how much of, the kind of patterns in eating within their own family, in the neighbor's house, in the society around, analyze that, probably relate that to the diseases that are occurring in people's houses. And of course, it's not just one factor, but many factors that come to it. I remember in that, and if we can drop that article also, where I had written for Teacher Plus some time back, where where I think we'd written about projects for primary and for secondary years of what we can do with the children. But I think the biggest change would come from the household, definitely, but also the school, even the school canteen. And I know that children will want the vada pav and the samosa pav. It's quite difficult to impose something. But I think slowly through the student council and this thing, you can have some days where you are able to have, different kinds of food. You could also have maybe more awareness about it, or you could even have that as something that you have within school time. This is what is served in the canteen based on what the children say, and because they do end up eating other stuff there. But I think it's about being able to take them through the experience of what happens when you eat something which is fried, and what happens when you don't eat. But again, I think, I don't know if you all will agree with me, that whether the children, whether we as adults understand that better, or do children get that better, I'm not sure. Like, I find that my children, because they've been exposed to this right from the start, without they know this, they're pretty much in tune. They're able to stop eating when they're not well. And actually, instinctively, all children do that. They stop eating, right, when they're not well, but we force feed them. But if we force feed them with fruits and juices, is better than force feeding them with something else. So, yeah.
I totally agree with you on what you said about, we do teach them junk food and balanced diet and all that in our, it's there as a part of the science syllabus or science curriculum, right? Science topics that we teach in middle school. But then talking about health and wellness as a whole, in a wholesome way, I think is what we need to do, and help them with experiences rather than just teaching them that, eating junk food is wrong. So all children know it, I'm sure, but then they all eat, right? So how do you really
because it's the taste, it's the taste, and that's the whole thing. So if you can recreate the taste at home, then that's fine.
Right.
Or you in the canteen, then that's great.
Yeah. So I have heard of many good schools having something like called a health curriculum, just like how you have sports or whatever, they have a health curriculum as part of that. So I think talking about health and wellness as a whole, and not just saying don't eat this food or don't eat that food. This food is more healthy, but talking about
Yeah.
exercise and I mean on the whole about
And talking about seasonal stuff like seasonal fruits, vegetables, where they grow from, how what goes into the growing of a lot of fruits and vegetables. I think there's a whole bit behind it, right? So as you then, and then children will, it's only about exposure at this age. I think then the children kind of make their own choices as they go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's one question asked by Amrita. I think you're talking about the Dikshit diet, right? Will help someone to
Yes, I
become
think that type
healthy.
2. Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I've heard about the Dikshit diet, and that emphasizes a lot on raw and does that. And I think if it works for you, that's absolutely fine. The only problem is that with any diet is that don't look at it as a diet.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it as a diet and do it only for some time, then the moment you leave it because you want to reduce weight or feel healthy or whatever, the moment you drop it and you go back to what you were eating, then there is nothing, right? So if you adopt something and adapt it and make it as a way of life, then that's absolutely fine. Like then whatever diet works for you, your family, your body, then that's a guidance that you get.
Okay, ma'am. I haven't started, so I just got a suggestion from the doctor. You
Right.
can go for it. So before starting it,
Yeah,
now this
I
is a
have
good
heard about
platform.
it.
I can ask my question to you. So I just thought before going for it, so I just can confirm it from you. Is it a good? Like
Yes.
I am on a heavier side. So is it
So
good for
it
me
is
to
good.
start?
But Amrita, if you stop that, you will again put on weight.
Okay.
So you have to make this balance. So we can go on diets for a while for losing weight or making ourselves, whatever ailment, to get rid of ailments. Then we have to find a balance of how we can use that, adapt it to our daily eating habit. Because otherwise that is the body goes into a yo-yo situation. Either we lose weight or we put on weight, or our health parameters drop and then increase. So at the end of the day, it is about choosing that to become your lifestyle. But you don't have to do it 100% after you've achieved your goal of losing weight, right? After that, you can balance it out with a 60-40 or a 70-30, but 70 good and 30 the other thing, but balance it with what you are making in your kitchen.
So taking the cue from what you said just now, Neha, so it's about sustainability, right? So most of us, I'm sure, and all of you, I'm sure, will agree that many times most of us have started out on something, but then it's just fizzled out. We have not been able to sustain. And that's what Neha is saying, adopt it like a lifestyle. So do some things, make it adaptable and make it your lifestyle. So could you give us some easy tips on how we could sustain it? Maybe some mantra you call it, or some easy tips you call it, or whatever.
Yeah. I did put that down as mantras because Kavita has always told me have mantras, which helps. And I was, so mantras are that keep it very simple. So it has to become a way of life, just like what Amrita was right now asking. I need a trigger. So I started for something. I look at it for 3 months, 6 months, a year. I follow a diet, and then I see the benefit of that diet and I integrate it with the way my life runs, my family runs. And it's only possible if it is for the entire family. Okay. Initially, yes, I tried everything on myself. I found it useful. Then I slowly started making changes in the kitchen. So what they got on the dinner table, on lunch table was different, but it was adapted and the entire family was eating it. It would be very difficult if I have to be the only person making something for myself and cooking a different range for everybody else. It doesn't work. Yeah. So I think it has to be for the entire family. So you have to get the buy-in, and hence you cannot force. I have had situations within my first circle of family where, being very influenced with this, was they actually said, okay, we are going to change our kitchen and we're going to do it like this and enforce that everybody has to eat fruits in the morning, then have a salad for lunch and sprouts and this and that. There was a rebel in the house. Everybody said, sorry, you want to do it, you do it. We are not going to do anything like this. So you can't do that. You can't force anybody. At the start, Jayashree had said that there was a big steel glass, the big ones. Everybody used to drink one glass of milk in my house, every day. I mean, besides me, of course. And never said anything about it. I don't know when they dropped it. So it just was very, very smooth because you don't have expectations. You go very small. And I think everybody comes around it if you don't enforce it, because they can see that there is something in for themselves. They're feeling better having fruits. They're feeling better, having more of vegetables and salads. I think that's how people just do it. Like, don't force. And of course, strike a balance. Okay. So if you've tried to do something, like, make sure that there is enough proper taste with what you're doing. Otherwise, it really goes kaput. So for me, these are the three things that it's a way of life. It's for the entire family, and strike a balance here.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So any thoughts? Anybody who wants to share? Anything else that probably has worked for somebody?
Ma'am, I have shared in the chat box.
Okay.
Along with that, we can also add sprouts in that.
Oh, Tanuja,
Yes,
about
yes,
making
we
a
can
salad,
make
right?
salads of carrots, capsicum, all dry fruits, pomegranates,
Yes.
apple. Absolutely. Add sprouts, and you can add your what we saw from the thing, right? You can make your dressings from the sweet, the salty, and this thing. Make a combination, and you can have that taste. So that will really help. Yeah.
That's a great tip. Yes, Tanuja, thank you.
And it's not that I know you're not supposed to have refined flour and all of that as well. I do occasionally make bread at home too. And we do eat. So it's not as if we don't eat that. It's just about, when you go out also, there is no restriction on what you eat. You, of course, eat what's available, but you start making healthy choices, right? You can distinguish between what's there and say, okay, no, I'd rather eat this or I eat so much of it. But back home, you're largely eating good food and balanced food. So even when you eat out, it's kind of fine. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'm reminded of people saying that they have a cheat day, right? So, so I eat very healthy, but one day is cheat day, right? So yeah, that's what I think.
And then you can go berserk on that cheat day. So I think that's the problem. That really becomes and I mean, I have issues with that. I feel it's fine to do everything, but do it in moderation, not like this. Unless you're, of course, fighting an ailment or doing it for something like that, then you need to. Yeah. Great. So should we kind of?
Yeah. Any last thoughts from anybody? Maybe your own personal experience or any takeaways or whatever you heard from Neha right now, or anything that has inspired you from Neha's story.
Yeah, Shruti, that's true. I mean, and this also has come to me as I would say, Gyan is after having gone and traversed that journey and seen what's not working at times. Yeah.
One more thing.
Yes.
Ma'am, we can soak the fennel in water and make the drinks in summers, which will be healthy for us instead of drinking cold drinks and all these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tanuja, nowadays what I make is I put lemongrass, pudina, water, jaggery, salt, and lemon. Nimbu pani, but with that, and it tastes amazing. Like it's such a refresher. So fennel also.
Yeah. And in summer, nothing better than ampanna, right? You get kacha
Yes.
mango, so anything out of that is so
Yeah,
much more healthy,
absolutely.
healthier
So,
than.
you know, our seasonal fruits and veggies are actually have a whole purpose, right? And they're really good. So yes, if you stick to that, then it's great. Yeah.
Okay. So Annette, are you going to send out a Google form to ask about, how many of us are interested in another recipe kind of a session?
Yes, we've put it on the chat.
Yeah. So if we have enough numbers, maybe we could have a session where Neha also suggested we could do something hands-on, so maybe some simple recipes.
Yeah, or we could do demos.
Yeah, we could do demos, whatever.
Or we can get into
Very
some
healthy.
recipes and look at substitutes and things like that. So
yeah, we could have a part 2 of this session, health and food, or tasty can be healthy, part 2. Yeah. Healthy can be tasty, sorry.
great. So any feedback that you'd like to leave for me is very welcome, because this is something that, we thought people, would want to kind of understand. And I'll tell you, this came out more from the fact that, whenever we go for any seminar, conference and all of that, people drink, you have tea break, coffee break, right? And everybody has tea and coffee. And I have a problem because I don't drink tea, coffee. And there is nothing else that I can have because it's tea, coffee, biscuits. And I carry my fruit ka dabba and I go. And then I'm labeled as somebody who's like a health freak. I'm not really a health freak, but the thing is that I'm labeled as that because I have to open my dabba and eat because I'm hungry and I don't eat the tea and coffee. And nobody serves fruit for these things. Yeah.
Neha, I used to call you, remember during our reviews, I used to call you fruit queen.
Yeah.
I used to say, here comes the fruit queen. Yeah, I know.
And mind you, everybody will have your fruit, and so always carry more if you do so. Yeah. Great. So any feedback in terms of anything that was worthwhile for you to have taken back, do share in the chat or unmute and talk. We can go on for another couple of minutes before we close the session. So that would be good feedback for Jayashree and me to know if something like this does interest and work for us.
Okay, Jaspreet says we need some more sessions. Jaspreet, you want to just unmute and talk? Will you be able to unmute?
I think they're not, yeah.
He's not able to unmute. Anybody who doesn't mind unmuting and speaking?
Okay, I know we may be in situations and conditions that we're not able to put our videos on or unmute. Anything is welcome on the chat too.
Hello.
Yes, Harleen.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it was a very positive session. I'm just looking forward to plan a healthy, what you can say, healthy meal for myself as well as for my family. Because I'm really inspired by today's session, though I've been following it, but yet if somebody insists or if somebody pushes us to do it, we feel like we have to continuously do it. We have to go ahead with it. Because sometimes we really feel demotivated.
Yeah. It's like a
Thanks for it,
reinforcement.
Neha ma'am.
Welcome, welcome, Harleen.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Tanuja, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, I was unaware of the jaggery powder. Today I came to know about that. So instead of using the sugar, I can use that.
Yes, you can use jaggery whole, jaggery powder, honey, dates. So I usually, another thing I wanted to share here was that, it's not easy always like to use dates, right? So what I do is soak the dates, make a paste, and it's there in the fridge. Keep it in the deep freeze, keep it down depending on the use. Jaggery also is jaggery in water is something that you can kind of mix, melt, keep it. I mean, not on the gas, but just like that, and keep it in the fridge. So those are quick things, right? When you don't have time, then you can use those very quickly. So
Thank
I
you,
think
ma'am.
those are, see, basically we have to, it's better to make advanced preparations, keep some things in the fridge ready, rather than to say, oh, that is in the fridge. It is a couple of like 3 days, 4 days, or 2 days earlier, or 1 week earlier that you've made, than to not do this and have something that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I look at it that way, and I say that, and hence the weekend, I make sure that, you make some variety, some sauces and some things, and keep it so that it's faster to cook during the week. And I'm sure a lot of us must be doing that. We're all doing the balancing act. So.
Yeah. Okay, then thank you so much for attending today's session, and we'll keep you posted about the next one. The next one will be 2 weeks from now. So hoping to see you all. And Annette, have you sent the link, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So if you could, it's a feedback link itself, and there itself you can say if you are interested in another session, a recipe session. We will look at the numbers, and then we can design a session for you on that. Thank you.